Hello everybody, and welcome to the LJL 2020 Summer Split coverage, brought to you by the LJL officially unofficial English cast. I am your host, Alex, otherwise known as Lexigo, my Mars Swan on the internet, and I am of course joined by the Hapgood brother duo. We have the sharpest commentator, the color commentator around in Alex, otherwise known as Nymera Hapgood, and the brilliant that is, when it comes to the pinnacle of play-by-play coverage, that's Sam, otherwise known as Initialize, Hapgood. Hapgood brother duo, gentlemen, as I say always, introduce yourselves.
And I may be sharp, and that's why I'm going to cut right into the meat of this matter. We got 4 games for you today. We're covering the back end of week 1 of the LJL Summer Split. And it's been a long time, guys. It's been a while, and I'm so glad to be back here. Hope you guys in chat watching the stream can enjoy it as well.
Completely on it with you on that one. We've got some killer matchups as well. They are like, we have got both Sengoku Gaming and Detonation Focus Me, our finalists, which we'll be covering over the next 4 games. Great. First one's going to be Sengoku versus Rascal Jester. The Jesters are such a fun team. Anyway, I'm really excited just to get into all of these games.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Let's get stuck into this first game for us over here on the unofficial stream. That's going to be Sengoku Gaming facing off against Rascal Jester. Now, these are 2 teams that we saw during the spring split. Had some very polarizing games on both sides. All of the lane, all of these players are truly phenomenal. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you that first question. I'd love to ask you, which lane do you think is going to be the most important matchup in this one?
AD Carry. These guys are really, really good. We have arguably the best AD carry in the region of Yutori over on Sengoku, and as much as he didn't have the best finals performance, he was a fantastically consistent performer. And we have Art on the other side, who might have had the highest highs of any AD carry, as much as we have the consistency compared to like the explosive performance of Art. Go watch the round 1 series versus CGA. Fantastic stuff from that guy.
Yeah, completely agree. There is the one caveat we do have to mention, though, is that 2 of the Jesters, specifically Ninja and Vivid, will not be playing today. They are currently, I believe, in Korea, trapped due to COVID stuff at the minute. So
just travel stuff.
Travel stuff, of course, is the way to put that. Exactly. And that will mean that they don't get to play on the ref, but there will be substitute for the Jesters, which does unfortunately hurt their kind of competitive power a bit, I believe.
It definitely will have some form of effect. I mean, this is not the group that you did all of your practice in, right? So could maybe have a few shaky moments maybe in communication and everything else. Gentlemen, moving forward into this, it's going to be really important to see how these teams prioritize and have evolved since Spring Split. This has been a while since we've actually seen these 2 teams on the Rift. Sengoku less so, but it's been a really quick minute. Who do you think this current favor of patch 10.11 really favors?
We haven't seen Rascal Jester in 5 patches. We saw them last on patch 10.5 in round 1 of the playoffs. That's it. And most of our teams in the LJL we haven't seen since then or beforehand. It's going to be strange because Rascal Jester have, of course, picked up an entire practice round lineup of 5 substitute players, and these guys have come from that lineup which have been slotted into the main one. So maybe they've been practicing something a bit under the covers. I do trust them in their champion pools, and Sengoku didn't adapt well to the finals. I might think it's Rascal Jester, but then how does that work with these players?
Yeah.
That's a really loaded question. I'm not quite sure how I'd actually answer that one because, I mean, there's so many variables in the grand scale of things. But gentlemen, we've actually just jumped into Champion Select, so I'm going to throw it over to you 2 in Champ Select. Good luck to both these teams.
Well, we're back, and I could not be more excited. Let's put it that way. It's going to be Sengoku Gaming on the blue side this time around for our first cast of the day and the summer. And that'll mean it's Appaben in the top lane, Blank in the jungle, Pyrian in the mid lane, with Yu Torimayashi and NT as those bot laners.
And bringing in the jokes, bringing in the heat on the red side is Rascal Jester, Cog, Hachimecha, Pink, Art, and Nagi over there.
And of course, Pink and Nagi are the 2 substitute players who've had to come in due to some chaos with the travel in the world as it is. We've had some bands that have come through already, namely Aphelios and Callista. And Varus, of course. All of whom are huge high priority picks. LeBlanc's off the table as well. Pyrian plays that super well. Fiddlesticks is the last ban.
Sure.
Newer champion does some interesting things. Hachimecha has spammed him a bit in solo queue as well.
Yeah, I think he's been played a bit top lane too. He's been played a
Oh,
bit
yes,
everywhere.
he has.
Okay,
The minions.
So the LeBlanc ban, if you guys are new to the LGL or are just kind of recapping on a couple of things we do here, we love LeBlanc in this region. You know what else we love? And everywhere loves right now, it's the Ezreal. Logged in first.
And Yutora Mayashi on that Ezreal is pretty good news for
Pretty
Sengoku
good.
Gaming. Stay safe, so much agency, so much mobility. The new Death Dance blue Ezreal build means that champion can just never die. It will be a response though, of the increasingly high priority Karma, and they're thinking about adding in a Graves on top of it, which is a pretty nasty combo.
Okay, so they have a person to support and a support person for that person to support. That's how I say things. I'm good with these words. Yeah, the Graves is definitely really good with any kind of shields and heals you can put onto that champion. Speaking of that, the best champion to prioritize, to pair up with that Ezreal is the Yuumi. You get yourself a Death Stance at 3rd, 4th item for the Ezreal alongside the Yuumi. You are effectively unkillable as a high DPS champion. It is a tad broken.
Behold the summer 2020 meta you've all been waiting for. It's Karma versus Yuumi, and you knew you always wanted it. It'll be Lee Sin locked in though for Blank, and Blank's Lee Sin certainly has a bit of infamy to it.
It does to a certain extent, but Lee Sin right now is really high win rate.
Yeah, that's what
it's
I'm talking
something
about.
which not necessarily people would expect.
I mean,
believe that
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, so Lee Sin I believe has like a 70 to 80% win rate. I haven't checked on the last couple of games that's been played. It's pretty big. Okay, that's a new one. Sivir's been locked in. Karma Sivir. We're back to season 5. Speed ups from both of them. You got the Mantra Shield, you got the On the Hunt.
And you know what a Phase Rush Graves really needs to add to his movement
More
speed? More speed. On the Hunt will potentially be allowed to catch out a Yuumi or two. We'll have to find out. TF will be the first Phase 2 ban here. Serious buffs to that champion. Can play AD, can play AP. A lot of people starting to pick that champion back up again, so will be taken off the boards. See what the response is here from Sengoku Gaming. Katarina, I believe that'll just be a focus ban towards Pink. I think he plays a bit of that in the solo queue. And perhaps not necessarily what you expect as a pro play ban, but I can understand trying to take comfort away from these newer players who are coming into the stage under difficult circumstances.
As someone who is well versed in being one trick, taking away someone's most prioritized champion can just unsettle them, particularly when it's their first game on the big stage too. So Pink played in an amateur tournament earlier this year, and that's pretty much all we've seen on him. Kind of the live broadcast level of play. Nagi also played in 2019 Scouting Grounds. He's down in there as support role. He actually played alongside Gil, who is now Natsume. He's now the top laner or the sub top laner for Axis, who played earlier today. We'll be covering those games at a later date, guys, by the way. So we haven't covered the first 4 games. This is our first one today. So just covering a little bit of Pink and Nagi there.
So the last bit of housekeeping to do was the Wukong Ban there. It's another really powerful champion that's been taken off the table. But Rumble is the pick here for Cog, we assume. But Rumble has been known to be a touch flexible, so there may be a Rumble mid in the cards as well.
Okay, so my problem with the Rascal Jester right now is that they have a lot of soft engage, but nothing really to hold someone in place. And as much as I love the DPS out of, their 3 core members of the Graves, the Sivir, and then the Rumble, that's not going to stop a Death Stance Yuumi Ezreal. Like, if
you need to keep him in place.
If you shift out of the first bit of damage, then like he turns it around, does a lot of damage. Okay, so there was a chance that we saw something like a Maokai coming through from Sengoku. Would have been really good alongside the Yuumi.
Are we back?
Appamens...
Is this the LJL special?
Okay, Nocturne mid is something we play quite a bit of. It's been touched up a little bit. The magic resistance in the mid lane has been reduced a bit. It's going to be Azir. Okay, so Yuumi Azir also really good. So when you do zoomies, the Yuumi E, it gives you attack speed. And it turns out Azir really likes attack speed. So it's good for that champion too.
And what a surprise. An Azir with attack speed is a terrifying prospect and all that AP scaling, all of that jazz. Thinking perhaps looking at what might be an Hecarim switch at the end here. So it'll be Rumble mid, Hecarim top. And that Hecarim has been coming back in priority. And suddenly the galloping stampede comp that Rascal Jesters have locked in. I'm so excited about it. I have missed the mad science that is the Jesters. And this is about as Jesters as it gets.
So let me throw you this little tidbit.
Go for it.
This little point.
Yes.
If you're going to put in 2 new players, right, which haven't played on stage before, haven't played with the team before at this level, You give them the easiest damn shit to play you can do. Whoops, okay. Did not mean to say that. But you give them the easiest thing, you press your R buttons, they go in there at absolute max speed, and they just delete someone.
Yep.
That is very easy to do. It's very straightforward. You know what they're doing. You're going to use the Onslaught of Shadows from the Hacker Room there. That is your hard engage. I was talking about that team not really having that beforehand, because they only had, the equalizer to slow people down. The Hacker Room now brings you that front. And it also gives you a good matchup into that Aatrox. We saw Licorice at Season 7 Worlds, right? Yeah. Take it to Keen, one of the greatest Aatrox players in Korea, and just win that matchup through and through.
Yeah. And I think we've seen here for some Sengoku Gaming, it's a pretty standard comp. That is front to back. It's Ezreal Yuumi, it's Azir, it's Aatrox. Nothing unsurprising there. On the other side, though, we'll have to see whether the Jesters have drafted themselves Ride of the Valkyries, or we're going to have to start playing the Charge of the Light Brigade. I'm not quite sure yet to see whether they can find their way through the cannon line that is Azir and Ezreal. Fun comp from Jesters.
It's fun comp, yeah.
What are you reckoning just from comps, not thinking about players?
I am thinking that Rascal Jester is a tad one-dimensional. I think it's fair to say.
But is that one dimension enough of a payload to be able to blast their way through?
My problem is they have a very heavy but very telegraphed engage composition into, from what I can see, 3 good forms of disengage. You've got a Yuumi ult, you've got a Azir ult, you've got a Lee Sin ult. Those are all really good forms of disengage. You're running in as the Hacker Room. If you get Lee Sin kicked out when you're outside of that, after the Fear's worn off, you're out of the fight at that point. You have to run back in. You've used all your move speed at the first part.
Yeah, you're looking at 4 champions with Aatrox, Lee Sin, Azir, Ezreal, who have a fair amount of inbuilt mobility as well. So.
And they have the range advantage.
Yeah.
They have the range advantage. I mean, Hacker Room is painfully melee. Graves is as good as without the smoke screen and his Q, really. Sivir has good wave clear, but there are so many ways you can get poked out. I'm not even sure Sivir. So this will be interesting to see. We have seen a bit of Muramana. Sivir gives you a lot of AD, and one of the things which has been been changed about Sivir is that her Q has a really large bonus AD scaling now. And Muramana gives you so much AD, it means your Q absolutely chunks. So if that is the build that's going for instead of something like the Essence Reaver, i.e. into full crit,
interesting.
Could be some pretty bursty combos.
Could be some pretty bursty combos. Well, that's the phrasing there from Nightmare. You've heard his concerns about the Jesters. I, myself, am a glass half full kind of guy, and I really want this comp to work, so I'm favouring the Jesters.
Oh, it'll be so fun.
I want this comp to work. My bias is there. This comp better work, or I'm going to be really sad.
Is it going to be the brown derby or just brown pants?
Yeah, exactly that. How would Hecarim wear pants?
Oh, no, not this meme again. No, you stop. Stop that right now.
Okay. I don't want to hang on that one either. So.
Coming soon to you on MS Paint.
If you feel like it, guys, send us a link. I'm sure we'd enjoy.
No, don't send us link. I don't want to
send
see
Nightmare as many possible pictures of Hecker and wearing pants. That's exactly what you need.
Why must you do this?
Because I enjoy messing with you as your older brother.
You know what? Oh man, I have to say the only thing that could have been better is if Yuumi was locked in for Rascal Jester.
Yeah, pretty
much.
Have
Hecarim with a Yuumi.
Yeah,
that would have been absolutely. So the thing about Karma in place of something like a Yuumi, and one of the reasons we see Karma prioritize so much is that her laning phase is
the priority
is so huge. Yeah. Your mantra Q is one of the. I think it's probably the most damaging wave clear spell at level 1.
Well, I mean, like, if Sivir starts a W with a Karma, you can shred the wave.
No, you never start W as okay. No, so you can do it for the auto attack reset.
That's why I was wondering whether you want to go for the wave clear or not. I suppose Boomerang Blade would be the standard.
Yeah, because if you don't have Q on Sivir, you don't really have trading tools, and the enemy lane walks up to you and trade with you.
I was going to posit, and again, I have not really thought about this, but if the Sivir did start the W and you did kind of go just pure wave push and just go for that like hard range advantage you do have, because there's not the most wave clear from an Ezreal Yuumi.
It's not awful. I mean, okay, put it this way: you don't get priority in that lane unless you're poking out, but you never lose farm. We are loading onto the Rift. We are live. We are here.
We're
present, all present and accounted for.
And present and accounted for our first game. The summer split. It will be Sengoku Gaming versus Rascal Jesters. It is a hell of a run-at-em comp from Rascal Jesters. It is the standard back-to-front team fight from Sengoku Gaming. And either way, it's going to be a hell of a way to kick off the split. Pink takes a Comet Poke.
First scratch.
First scratch. Sengoku. And we'll see how things play out from here.
And we
It's
saw a
no more
surprise
of a-
Windows background.
And surprise Windows background is exactly what you want to see here on the LJL. We're here with these Easter eggs, these surprises. I'm a little sad that we just got Riot Games, not LJL flags. That's
Doing cool.
that would have been cool.
It-
But
it's-
we'll take the fist bumps.
They're not leveraging their Japanese advertising. You see the key line onto Tomoyashi.
Oh, force the flash out, actually. That's a
Mm.
good sort of late level 1 play just from the bot lane of Rascal Jesters. Nice play.
It is. This is the problem with standing in that tribe rush. You can path around that wall out of vision, and when you've got this
Such a
Karma
common
receiver,
play at this time as well.
it kind of is. You rarely see it for a chunk. That is a huge vote.
Well, that's your finalists. They beat DFM in 1 best of 5. They fell in the second, but there's a lot of faith in that team, especially when there are substitutes that they're playing against as well. So I can see why that's such a huge Twitter bias towards the side of Sengoku Gaming. The AI bot is a little less sure about it, though.
Well, I mean, I remember some of the AI votes in the finals and the semifinals, which were like 50%, 51%. This is probably the largest AI vote I've seen in a while.
In a while, indeed. And actually, as you said, there's a bit of poke coming out there onto the Karma from Utomashi and the Yumi of NT.
So when you hit level 3, Sivir will at least have Spell Shield, can stop the first skill shot. That's fine. It means you can sustain in that lane pretty well. You go for the Legends Bloodline as well. You get yourself some lifesteal without building it in your items. You survive this lane pretty well. It gives you a free chance to scale up.
Yes.
And that's pretty okay. We did see the Q start, though, from Art. It's a massive poke. That's what forced out Utomashi's flash. You don't really want to tank both those skills. However, by now, they've hit level 2, and now they're safe because they have Arcane Shift. They're going to be fine.
They're going to be just fine. Who might not be fine, though, is Cog, who has drawn the attention of Blank, who is wandering his way up, will find his way through this. There's no ward. There is no flash. That is the problem with Hecarim. He's still got his Ibra flash in from Apperman. Does secure first blood for the side of Sengoku Gaming. Clean play from the top jungle duo.
No flash, no ghost, not a snowball's chance in hell.
We're not on
Horsey
ARAM.
goes down for first blood. No, we're not in ARAM. There was in the top lane, and it is still a death for the horse, nonetheless.
It'll be Boots pick up, which is always a nice thing for Hecarim, but he does have to burn his teleport early on, and Lee Sin is on his way to the Raptors, and Pink is shoved all the way under his tower.
And the last time we saw Pyrian's Azir, he was
a bit of a monster?
He was a bit of a monster. It was against DFM in their game 1 loss in the finals. He gets it.
For a moment, I thought he didn't have the burn on it. I was judging that.
It was the red buff takeaway, just efficient pathing there. And we saw Pyrian's Azir, I was saying, back in game 1 of the finals, and he was solo killing Saros, and he was doing very well in this champion. He had a bit of a tenuous early split in spring, but he really came online as the split came on. Really looking forward to see what he can do in this matchup and in this game. 10 CS up at the moment. Getting ganked, let's see what he does.
Pyrian's not got a huge amount of mana, but
he walks away.
He just walks away. Doesn't even need to use the Shifting Sands. Probably just here to help Pink clear out for a decent back, I'm assuming. Yeah, walks up for the Flame Spitter, has got teleport. Will probably look to back away for his first buy. Cog gets caught by the Infernal Chains, but steps outside of it. And that will be about it. We're going to see the first jungle route plan here. That's a nice little bit of overlay. Let me see, you can see it's red buff into blue side clear by the Graves, where it'll be the full red side clear by the Lee Sin. And then to the blue buff, and then straight up for that gank in the top side.
Yeah, so it left Graves on the bottom side of the map for that scuttle take. But then, of course, he went over towards the Krog, seeing if they were around, and didn't really get anything for it. So Blank made sure he was out on the map early, gets himself something for it. Means that this Hecarim had to burn TP early, and there's no reset potential there now. And remember, teleport is really long cooldown in the early game now. It decreases as your level increases as well. So that teleport is going to be down for a very long time.
What's also down for quite a long time is actually this relatively hefty CS lead for Art in this bot side, about 15 or so. I mean, there's a wave here to cash in on for Utomashi, so I'm assuming that'll be back to around 10 or so. But
Blank can stop that.
Yeah, looking to potentially punish. Graves will be on this side of the map as well, though, so that might make things a little harder. There's a level advantage, though, thinking maybe about going in on that, but decides against it.
Okay. So yes, there is the CS advantage for the bot lane. They've managed to recoup that with a little bit with the wave picked up at tower. One thing which is not recouping though is that mid lane having 20 CS lead. T-Furion putting just turning the screws on Pink on
10 in the top as well.
10 in the top lane. So laning phase going side of Sengoku. Not just that first blood, got some gold from all of the CS advantages as well. And Blank is keeping up pretty handily in the jungle too.
And I think it's also worth pointing out that we've seen first blood from Sengoku Gaming, which was something they kind of struggled with in their spring split. They had some pretty ugly early game stats. I mean, obviously, you've got to remember that the first few weeks of Sengoku Gaming's play was a little bit suspect. But that's good news, and it's showing that improvement from spring has seemed to stick around. And Blank, on this early agency jungler that we have seen a little bit more of, seen a bit more success from, is off to a good start.
Well, I mean, back in week 4, we heard some rumors about Sengoku's scrim results back in scrim in week 4, and of course, you can only put so much water in those kind of rumors about them not doing so well at that time. But then after that, week 5, they really turned it on. They had a great improvement.
Oh, baby.
Afterman, you've been ganked. See what you do.
He's got to see about it. That does avoid the onslaught of shadows with a decent sidestep. But now he's in a lot of trouble. Has not got the flash still. Is taking a lot of damage. Smoke screen comes out. Hatchametcha takes the revenge kill in the top side. Easy as you like.
As much as he had the 20 CS lead, much like Pyrion did, didn't really have a way out of that gank with the phase rush being available to Graves. Another very strong keystone right now. Worth noting that this Rumble in the mid lane has gone teleport, not gone for heal, not gone for an ignite, something like that. You sometimes see those spells coming out. You have the sorcery tree first. You can take Nimbus Cloak, get a lot of mobility from your basic combat abilities. But what it does mean is that Pink gets to reset and get back into that mid lane.
He does, and I can also understand that you want your Rumble to turn up and throw equalizers down at the right time. It's Rumble running the teleport in the top lane for aeons and aeons, so the newer tech of other combat summoner spells, it doesn't always have to be gone for, I guess.
So it's worth noting, Sengoku last split had a 35% first blood rate, which means that they had first blood against them by process of elimination 65% of the time. That's quite a large amount. They actually do well on that front. Afterman had a lot of isolated deaths last split. That's something which he does. He's kind of like Season 5 Marin. He just kind of pushes up and does stuff in side lanes and occasionally gets heavily punished for it. We saw that yet again.
Going to go in. Shuffle coming in. And here comes Blank as well, but the flash out, but the flash in from Blank. He's going to try and get it. And he gets that return queue as well. Blank picks up the kill with some smooth play from the XSKT mid jungle.
And that's all she wrote. Pink goes down. The CS lead's going to be exacerbated even more. 30 right now. Going to be plates in the mid lane. It's going to be a whole other cannon wave lost too. It's not looking so good for the Rumble.
Oh, man, that was super slick. Just needed to flash there by Pink and just didn't.
I mean, he did use his flash, but he just also died.
I was thinking more about flashing the Shurima Shuffle was more what I was thinking. But I grant you there was, in fact, the flash there. So my statement was, in fact, a lie, just not intentionally.
I mean, this is what we saw from Pyrion in the finals.
Versus Heimerdinger as well,
It was versus the Heimerdinger, another immobile mid laner, and he took that to pieces. It just later into the game.
Final chapter is here, but was a bit of a boring book, and Art and Nagi decided they're not going to read it.
It's not a page turner.
Yeah, not riveting is perhaps the way you put it.
Good trade.
Good trade indeed. And that Infernal Chain landing on the World Ender coming out. Kog'Kog has got ultimate, but it's just going to manage to run away. No charge of the Light Brigade this time around. Bit of a Scion impression. Screams cowards at the approaching Aatrox and manages to get his way out.
So I think he was trying to trade he could potentially have traded Flash for Ultimate, which wouldn't have been particularly good at that point. Of course, the teleport just coming out from Kog'Kog, though, might have stopped a potential play coming through later. Spell Shield on the True Shot Barrage means that it's just wave clear there and some extra mana into the reserves of Art. He's just going to reset anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter. There's a Linkin Park reference in there, I'm sure.
There are a great many.
They're going to think about maybe cancelling it, but
don't see it.
Don't see it. If you turn my should have thrown a Q out there, that was a very low health Nagi. I think I could probably have got that, but safety first. And of course, Blank has picked up the Rift Herald, by the way, which is worth pointing out, along with that first Ocean Drake earlier on. This is the double early objective play from Sengoku Gaming. They're going to step in here and attack this tower. It's already down to that 2.5 plate mark. Hatchametcha's here. The equalizer comes out. They won't quite claim this tower if they can get onto that. Yep, they don't. but it is on perilously low HP.
But you've used the equalizer now. You have to have Graves to prop up your lane and wave clear because Nazir has no threat onto him. He can just take this for free. He's looks like he's going towards the Lost Chapter first, might go towards the Ludens, or stick on that Lost Chapter, which is more common, and go towards the Nash's Tooth afterwards. Go for that kind of poke build into that mid and late game.
Indeed. Also worth pointing out that mid CS lead is continuing to grow. It's not stabilized. Pyrion is finding a lot of efficacy in that lane.
Oh,
Cog
Ignite
and
can be
Apperman,
top
though.
lane.
Ignite is coming out, forces the flash out of
Well, that's
Apperman.
'cause
Hachimecha is here
here.
as well. He's got ultimate. They're still thinking of going for this. No, backing
Okay.
away is going to take a little too long. That ward down there was pretty smart by Apperman, but he's going to walk forwards. Smoke screens down, forces the World Ender again. Here comes a challenging smite. Hachimecha has got phase rush, dashing forwards, has still got the ultimate. Can he find enough damage? But that's a big heal now. He's going to use it, thinking about it. Oh! That's a clutch sidestep is what we'll call that from Apperman.
Yeah, that's a very hard skill shot to dodge as well. The bloom at the end of it is really large. He just ends up just ducking inside, not getting around to the end of the explosion, and walking out with his life. Very well played, Apperman.
And because of Hachimecha's pressure towards the top side, it'll be second Drake, first tower in the mid lane, and a hell of a lot of gold for Sengoku Gaming.
And it is actually the Ludens first on the Azir. Not something we see so much, but it is just poke and lane dominance, and we can see what that's led to. It has led to a 50 CS lead at 12 minutes. It has led to 5 turret plates and first turret as well for Pyrion. Pyrion is so strong in this Azir.
Yeah, Nemesis can eat his heart out. That's a good look early on.
It is. At least Hachimecha is still farming pretty well. Hasn't really been denied many of his jungle camps, even with the priority in the mid lane. Didn't really want to walk into the jungle. Did blank when there was the equalizer follow-up available. So we're kind of just waiting for the next stage of play. And Sengoku, if you haven't tuned into many of their games before, they just love playing around dragons. They love playing around their early objectives. They picked up a Herald. They picked up 2 early dragons. It's going to be a Cloud Rift, which is not the best soul, but it is still a soul to play around. And they have themselves those 2 early dragons. So something to play around.
That's exactly right. And worth saying as well, bot lane has been quieter than perhaps we expected.
Well, after the early pressure, it's just been evened out. I mean, it's remained a constant 10 CS deficit. It's not gained anything. Art has gone for the Essence Reaver. It's not going to be the Muramana. Tried to go for that. The early BF sword in lane does very much help you with your pushing power and your trading potential, but it does maybe mitigate a little bit of that scaling. But Sivir, once she hits 3-4 items, does do a lot of damage. We do know that. We've had great many competitive games across history with that champion.
Sivir at 3 items is a conversation as old as she's been a champion, pretty much, it feels like. Hachimecha, though, being forced out of his jungle. Blank and Pyrion teaming up. Smite out on the Gromp by Hachimecha, but he will be forced out, and I think his red buff will be forfeit.
Also worth noting, Pyrion has 40% CDR already.
Oh,
because he'll have Transcendence, he'll have 20% from Ludens and 10% from the Phoenix Codex. He's poking a lot, and his mobility is really high. His shuffle is going to be up so much.
Going to see a contest here. Hachimecha walks into blank, but Cog is here. They're going to go straight in on him. Dash out with the quick draw. No summoners burnt, but a lot of damage onto Hachimecha. And with Pyrion roaming up, it will be a 2 versus 3 with health bar advantages. Jungle pressure continues. That poke between the Ludens and the Comet is pretty obscene.
It is, and that's what you use this build for. It's not necessarily the team fight. It's those incremental bits of damage. You play it as a poke mage, and when there's people that can't tank your skill shots, that happens.
Yes. Graves likes to think he's a tank with that massive shot he has for the collateral damage, but it turns out he doesn't have the armor of it. Cog's going
Ignite
in, though.
again.
Blank is here. This will be a 1 versus 2 Cog. Are you
the Q misses.
The Q does miss. He's going to use the Onslaught of Shadows, but needs to find his way out. There's a ward hop available.
Flash G.
Maybe there's a bit enough CDR, perhaps, there. Going forward, still there, thinking about it. Can Cog use the minions with his Agile Flash?
Gets it.
Gets the Q. Resonating strikes there, but now Blank has no flash. He's being smokescreen. Towers still up, and with the safeguard available to Apperman, there will be no return kill for the transgression of Blank killing the top laner. And now Hachimecha is alone, all alone under this tower. Mafia Graves, I think this is going to be a bit diligent, but that shuffle misses. Hachimecha flashing out. Can he use the phase rush to escape? But no. Blank is still good enough to find his way on top of the Graves, and the Outlaw finds himself obliterated.
And worth noting, Pink had teleport there. He had Equalizer and Flash, but perhaps that was the time to interact with the map as this Rumble, because Pink has not managed to leave lane once. He's still very down in CS. Pyrion starting to affect the enemy jungle as well. I was talking about, well, Hachimancha hasn't had too many camps taken away from him. He just had his Krugs taken away, just had his red buff taken away, just had his life taken out of his hands as well, and the Herald is going to blank.
Yeah, to sleep and perchance to dream that my jungle is still there is what Hachimetra is thinking. Is a bit of a resident sleeper in that mid lane. Is Pink did have
there is no Zoe here.
There is
no
Zoe.
Here.
Yep.
Thank you.
I am aware of your hatred of Zoe. She's probably up there as one of your most hated champions of all time.
Season 5, Lulu Karma were
pretty not great.
Actually,
We're kind of getting back
Bard,
there
actually.
though.
And Bard, all of which are meta. Why?
Yeah, this is a meta designed to tilt Nymera, which is entertaining in and of itself.
Yeah.
Some nice mechanics there to get both jungle camps lined up for the Graves to continue his farm. Misses up the aggro on the last one there. That's a bit unfortunate.
Also, production is just reminding me that actually Zoe was banned this game by Rascal Jester.
Yeah, also and agreeing with you, which is tells you a lot about how Mass One and Nymera view the game, really.
Well, also worth noting, guys, that we're experimenting with a couple of different caster pairings this split as well. So you will be seeing Mass One on the caster desk a bit, caster role a bit more, and sometimes I'll be behind the screens trolling these guys on a document we've got open in the background.
It's good fun. It really is. Worth saying as well that we've got a Cloud Drake coming up, Nymera. In fact, it's here. And this will be the third Drake. And the question is, do Jesters want to contest it? They'll have ultimates up, and they've yet to run at them. They've yet to group up and run. It's been Lee Sin doing that to them at the minute.
Okay,
Herald summoned, second one down there. That was the price of the top lane going down against Rascal Jesters. They lost control of that Rift Herald again. It's gone down on the bot side, where Rumble and Azir are now facing off once more.
There are 5 teleports available to this fight. There's the Ezreal in the mid lane, won't need it. The Azir in the bot lane also won't need it. But those top laners, crucially, have ultimates, have their combat summoners, and have those teleports too. That's what I'm looking for. Cog doesn't have the Triforce yet, but that Onslaught of Shadows, as we said, is the hard engage for the team of Rascal Jester. We need to see if they can play around it, or whether they seed this dragon over to Sengoku, because this is still a very scary Lee Sin. 4 kills and a completed Black Cleaver. That's strong on blank.
That's one way of putting it. That strong is definitely the way to think about it. Apperman is coming down. He's in the mid lane already. Teleport in from the second room. They want to fight. Is it going to be too late? They're going to come in. Hachimetra does not secure it because Blank is there. Here comes Coco, but he's been rooted in place. He's in so much trouble. Azir manages to disengage with the Empress Divide. Nagi is flashing out, but now Apperman is looking for the flank. He's coming. And that is huge. The Onslaught of Shadows. It's only an onslaught to the Shadow Realm. Yugimoto, someone call him up because someone needs to rescue Rascal Jesters.
There are no weak top laners in my deck. Apperman comes in and steamrolls that fight. He's done, he's just been doing Apperman things. He died solo. He got a kill kind of up there as well. Comes into a team fight at some point after he's got some items and just runs over the back end of the fight.
Man, what is an Egyptian god to a Darkin Blade? That was
dead,
brutal. Yeah,
apparently.
They need an Obelisk to Tormentor skin at this rate. Oh, man. Yeah, doesn't even get the dragon. Run me through this one. What happened, man?
Okay, so the big thing for me is that Blank has a really good vector there for the Yuumi ult. It means that Rascal Jester can't funnel into the pit. They can't use that move speed which they're afforded to them by their bot lane duo, and Pyrion safely disengages. They reset the fight. The tools are gone from the side of Rascal Jester, and we were talking in draft about, well, what do Rascal Jester do if that engage doesn't stick? You're doing it into too much disengage. The disengage comes through. Sengoku run over the fight.
Yep, and I also think Apperman flash the Onslaught of Shadows to avoid the fear.
Cool.
That's how we managed to get the Darkin Blaze down. And it's just, well, look at that damage. Tells you all the story, really, doesn't it?
It's quite a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, doing damage. He's one of the better AD carries in the region. He puts out his skill shots, manages to find that AD carry uptime on Sivir in that
50
fight.
average DPM over Yutori Miyashi. Like, that's good work from that.
Very good, yeah. And it tells you how much emphasis Rascal Jester put on that carry in the bot lane too. However, when you're doing it into this kind of draft, you do actually get outscaled. The Azir can attack you from far outside your range. So can the Ezreal too. And the Yuumi forces the issue. You can't really stand in that active DPS zone as Sivir against the Yuumi if she has ult up. It's just very difficult.
We've not really touched on it because we've been focused on some of the objectives and some of the play that's been going on, particularly on the jungle. But it is now about 8,000 to 9,000 gold lead for Sengoku Gaming, and we're not even 20 minutes into the game. That is monumental, Nymera.
It is, and there is 100% kill participation from Blank. He's 5-0-3. He is hilariously fed, and that's not even going alongside the scaling members as well. This Lee Sin will continue to be relevant now because he is so far ahead of the curve, and that's scary.
Yeah, it feels like that. well, someone insulted his mother called Martha at this point, because the Black Knight is well and truly returned and looking to wreak vengeance upon the side of Rascal
Tell me,
Jesters.
Rascal Jester, do you bleed? You will do.
Pretty much. That's what we're going on. Gotta hope that perhaps there is some sort of Superman on the side of Sengoku Gaming to try, rather Rascal Jester, to try and turn around this lead from Sengoku Gaming. Another fight against world-ending. Appamen might be the way forward, just force him back. Has he got a way out? He's got no flash, remember. Hachimecha still got his ultimate. There's a lot of healing now from Appamen, but I don't think it's going to matter. And eventually, it will be the shutdown over to Hecarim, and that's something.
Yeah, we don't have a Superman, but we have an Appamen. Let me introduce you. Appamen, he has a lot of isolated deaths. This is just kind of what he does. But he is buying his team a chance to start the Baron. There's no jungle here. There is an equalizer, but this should be a Baron secure for Sengoku.
Oh, yeah, it might well be. Can we see how it goes? There comes the equalizer, but
worth a try.
Worth a try, and it'll mean there's a push in the mid lane, but free Baron at 21 minutes into the game is pretty good news for Sengoku Gaming. You get a good true shot barrage over the top of 3 members of Rascal Jester as well.
It's worth noting as well that there are 2 items for both solo laners Sengoku now. They are very far ahead of their opponents. You have the Ludens and the Nash's Tooth built up the Pyrian, and just before that play, we had the Black Cleaver and the Death Stance for the Aatrox. Didn't save him, of course, but it means that the team fight presence of Sengoku, if things explode, so will the members of Rascal Jesters. There is just so much damage, and the AI agrees.
Oh, that's well.
Wait, so you're saying there's a chance?
You say there's a chance.
It's not 0 yet.
Yeah. Small chance of death, near inevitability of death. What are we waiting for? It's not quite right. I'm
pretty sure you said death twice. There's like, oh,
small chance of success.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a really bad phrasing of Gimli. It's the reason I was obviously never born to be an actor, because I can't remember my lines. Nagi is well and truly screwed. That was a lot of damage.
And Blank takes matters into his own hands again. He is still 100% kill participation. He is having a monstrous game. 5-0 and 4. Building up towards might be the Death Stance actually on there as well. He's got the Caulfield's hammer in inventory. He's looking
maybe
very
he thinks
scary.
lethality. Maybe that's
let's go Duskblade.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe. You never know.
Let's go Duskblade.
Clap. But Cog is here. He's at the bot lane. He's looking as his tower is about to be destroyed. Let's be completely frank.
Okay, but however, looking at it from the side of Rascal Jester, it is a 9,000, verging on 10,000 gold deficit for the Dread team here. How do they win a fight? Well, Rumble is a champion that can pull out miracles, and Sivir has 2 crit items, the 2 AD crit items. There is a world where you get picks continually. You need to prey on Sengoku's mistakes. It's just very hard to do that right now because there's so much disengage, like I was saying. And you've got a Yuumi there as well, with an Athene's, with the Lost Chapter as well, so not going to be running out of mana, has a lot of CDR as well. It's hard. You can understand why the AI has put a 98% chance of Sengoku to win.
Yeah, that's the way of putting it. 98% for Sengoku Gaming. The 2% is a silver lining distantly up above the thundercloud that is Sengoku Gaming at this point in the game. Look at those items. Is the Black Cleaver Death Stance out for the Aatrox as well? Look at the AD carry. It's already halfway to the Death Stance, 3rd item for that particular pick. Cog's walking up, but is going to stay away from the dangers.
It's also Cloud
Soul. Will be Cloud Soul as well, just to add into the Thunderstorm. Add a few more clouds up in there, why don't you?
Wind in the sails. Sengoku sailing off into the horizon now, it looks like, and out of sight in this game. So ridiculously far ahead. But Pyrian will need to try and escape this. He's 4 levels up on the jungler.
He's got
and
flash,
on
he's got shuffle.
He's got everything.
He's going in. That's 4 levels up, and Hachimecha's just not there. It burns the on the hunt, but now Pyrian maybe in danger. But here comes the teleports. Oh, it's in danger. That's a good equalizer there. Pyrian's in trouble. He gets shut down.
Oh, the teleports!
But the teleports are here. Apperman's chasing forwards in the world ender with the true shot barrage over it. Flash in onto Art, and Apperman dunks him down. And now Nagi in trouble, has no way out. Double kill for Yutomiyashi. Pink is about to show that the party isn't started. It's just all over, but for the crying. Cog comes in with the onslaught of shadows. Apperman in the base. Can he find his way out? He's dashing backwards, trying to find something, but dashing forward as Yutomiyashi gets the ace. Full ace for the 1 cost life of Pyrian, and that will be game 1 of our cast here in the LJL officially unofficial over to Sengoku Gaming in just 24.5 minutes.
Under 25-minute victory in game 1 here from Sengoku. What a showing. I expected Sengoku to come out with a win here, but in this fashion, I'm not sure I could have predicted that. GG in game 1 of our coverage.
The only sad thing for Sengoku Gaming is losing the 100% kill participation for
the shuffle
flipping what we call Nexus death. But there we go. It's all over now.
It is all over now. We are going to cut to a quick break while we try and gain our thoughts and gather them a little bit, and we'll come back to you with our post-game segment. Stick around.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial cast. I am still your host, Alex, otherwise known as X, go by Mouse and of course, I'm still joined by the illustrious Hatgood Brother duo that are also my casters. Gentlemen, we just saw a statement of a game for Sengoku in their first game of the LJL Summer Split. That was honestly phenomenally played from all members of Sengoku. Where would you gentlemen like to go first with this one, honestly? Because we can go anywhere with this, Lanes.
Wait. I'm drawing a blank.
In the jungle. Okay.
Yes.
Let's go then. Let's go over to blank and talk about this, 100% kill participation until the very end of the game
believe
from
so.
blank?
I believe so. I'm actually not sure. I didn't see the scoreboard. I think actually the scoreboard was down as the Nexus was falling after that huge shuffle.
5-0. 5-0-5, sorry, and it wasn't quite 100% kill participation either. That was the one sad thing for Sengoku.
Yes.
Didn't continue his 100% kill participation.
But early kill on top lane, all the heralds, all the dragons, pressure everywhere. What a game from blank.
What a game indeed from blank. And I mean, that all started partly due to the duo that is Pyrion in that mid lane. That's where a lot of the action went down. Initialize. What were your thoughts on how that went for Pyrion and blank, and also the substitute of Pink?
It was a rough first game for the new guy in for the Jesters. He was down 50 CS at some point in lane. They lost first turret in the mid lane. It meant that this Graves that wanted to be farming, trying to find his way to some dangerous points of power, was kind of invaded by a Nazir and this ridiculously fed Lee Sin. And that kind of pressure around the mid lane and the jungle spread out absolutely everywhere else.
I mean, how did that really capitalize and really throw the momentum of this game fully in Sengoku's way, Nymera?
Well, speaking of momentum, I mean, it didn't really look like they stopped at all.
That's very true.
There was a little bit in the early game when you're talking about, okay, well, bot lane, Yutari is losing his flash early, but there's no way to really leverage that even in that lane. It just looked like business as usual. I don't even think they looked phased, if I'm honest.
With not being phased, you, Nymera, said a very common term that we over here on the LJL Officially Unofficial have really loved using, Appermen things. Let's talk about Appermen, Nymera, and Initialize. First off, Nymera, what a pick from Aatrox from him into Cog, really?
Well, so, how would you categorize Appermen in a sentence? Amuse me here.
A unique player in and of himself. He has an own style that is only Appermen truly understand.
He's isolated in style and also isolated in death still. He just does his thing. He just kind of like creates pressure and the team actually does stuff with it. That's the important thing. That's the thing with like the whole Darien dynamic of Moscow 5 and whatever. The Aatrox rolled around to a team fight. He got ran down in side lanes a little bit, but that wasn't the important thing. The team was still winning.
That is very true. Yeah, go for it. Initialize.
I think I wanted to kind of hang on that back end of that statement. Is just that actually when Sengoku Gaming looked bad, Appermen pushing kind of blindly in a side lane gets them in trouble. He gets solo kill, isolated kill quite a lot. When the team is on it, his additional sort of pressure he just shoves into a lane can really push people back at quite a heavy pace. It can punish him. But it can also lead to the fact that he gets huge gold leads, finds his way over walls to find triple kills at the back end of Dragon.
I mean, let's go a little
Some of that's amazing stuff.
Let's go a little bit deeper into what you said there. We did happen to see Cog pick up a very unique pick there on that Hecarim. Initialize, why do you think they did that? Why do you think the Hecarim?
So, Hecarim is known as something of an Aatrox counter. Licorice is quite famous for. He pulled it out versus Keen at the Season 8 Worlds, got them to the semi-finals of Cloud9. You can run the Ignite, which is great into his healing. Your Q is just pretty good trading versus him. You've got a good ultimate. It's a nice matchup for the champion A, but B, he's just very powerful with his teleport as well.
Sure.
It didn't work out in partly because just a great early gank from Blank put him behind. And after that as well, he was just constantly down because of the early teleport. Just couldn't quite find his way into an advantage with the lane in the way he wanted to.
So then it comes over back to Nymera. Rascal Jesters. No, I hadn't. Rascal Jesters had a disappointing game. What would you tell the team members looking back on this game, especially maybe some of those substitutes of Pink and Nagi?
It's a hard game to go into as your first game. Sengoku were good. You know, they were second best to DFM. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
In the last split, but you know they beat them in a best of 5, and on the right patch, they might have been champions of the last split. Pyrion is maybe the strongest laning mid laner outside of Ardia as well. So if Pink's walking into a really awkward matchup of Rumble versus Zir as well, don't take it personally. It was probably going to happen. So I think you go back, you reset, just try and keep your mental fortitude intact. You're a substitute anyway at this point. You know, like it's rough coming into this situation. Just try and hold it together. See what you can do next game.
See what you can do next game is definitely what we're going to be saying. We're gonna go on a very short break over here on the LJL Officially Unofficial, but we'll be right back with our highlighted match of the week, and that's going to be Detonation Focus Me facing off against Sengoku Gaming. We'll see you all very, very soon.